Just beautiful music here on RangerRob Country Living Podcast. Half the pictures that went across the screen, they're not on the show tonight. Um, so anyway, welcome to the RangerRob Country Living
Sorry,
Podcast.
I'll do it.
And see, get my screen switched over to comments. And today is not a political day. We're not going to talk about hardcore causes and effect, but sure, go ahead. Add another John to the show. That's all we need.
Right?
We can. Hey, there's never enough Johns.
Well, I don't know about that.
We're just a bunch of Johns.
Especially on the road down to Las Vegas and right in between all that desert. Like,
that's right.
Not enough Johns
right.
around
wife,
there.
You know, every rest area that comes up, she stops.
That's right. It's like a Cardinals game at halftime.
Yeah. Well, people still watch them. Kind of like our Seahawks. By the way, how are the Cardinals doing last? Well, I didn't hear much about them last year.
Nah, that says it all, Rob.
Yes.
Yeah. So, guys,
49ers were in there.
Oh yeah. So, I'm totally lost on the show already. I want to introduce. We have small town tourist John Smith with us today, because I think he'll have a lot of good feedback for today's show. We have John Pearsons from Pearson Apple Farm, and then we got J&D, and John decided to join the show.
Attaboy.
J&D Pig Hobby Farms, and from what I hear, it hasn't sounded like much of a hobby because your pigs eat bulls.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Those are the most corrupted pigs ever.
It's like when they bought my pigs, they picked out the very biggest piglets I had. I mean, the biggest.
They were fat too.
And now those big giant pigs are eating everything.
Yeah, they are.
And making craters in the ground. And there's one of them thinks it's a dog.
I just want to point out I see somebody new to the show here, a Biblical Animal Farm. Welcome to the show. Where are you from? What area? We get a chance put it in there. We see where you're from.
Good evening.
So today, I kind of me and Sherry had this conversation, and so the subject's going to be finances, and I want to talk about the digital dollar and all this stuff. And all we have is a lot of bits and pieces. Florida, wow!
Hello from Florida.
Yeah, they're up late. Yeah, Rob gets on the show. He's from North Carolina, so he'll be on the same time zone. But I haven't heard from Rob today. But anyway, so Sherry and I were talking, and she goes, and she made a comment like, I can't help but be kind of bummed out. I mean, it's like unsettling. Everything's just unsettling. And it's like, and I told, gosh, that's how I felt too, but I didn't really want to say anything. And then Debbie came over yesterday, and she visited our piggies, and I asked her the same kind of question, and she answered the same way. And I'm going, first of all, is everybody that you're kind of talking to or kind of acquaintances, is everybody a little bit uneasy? That's the first question, with a combination of all the different things, more so than normal.
Actually, even going into town, you can tell the difference in the people at the stores too. When you go up to the cash register, they're not as jolly as they used to be, and even Dutch Bros, and everybody's happy at Dutch Bros. But you can tell that it's changed.
Oh, the food store's still happy.
Well, one of them is. But yeah, so you can really tell the difference. It's the combination of what's going on in the economy, and I think the weather.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Sherry said that too.
point.
She says, I'm sure the weather is kind of, and I hear actually Arizona's been kind of gray too. But
oh, it wasn't that bad.
Well, you just went through 10 minutes and you went to another state. So
no, I know the whole state of Arizona. From one side, from the east side to west.
You were going 90
if you get-
miles an hour, you didn't see it.
So if you guys didn't know, John
Yeah.
just got back from Arizona and he came down through Texas and
Oh, wait a minute.
Oklahoma.
I went all the way to Oklahoma, the
Oh,
north,
okay.
the north down.
Yeah.
I came back the south up 4 days. In 4 days.
So did you cross Interstate 40 then, John, or how did you go through?
Yes, I did many times.
Okay. That's the higher elevation, so it's a little cooler up there.
Well, we're used to it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
been
told him
cold.
to stay away for 5 days and he didn't listen.
Okay. So guys, I want to talk, well, because we're in homesteading and some of us are talking about homesteading and the future and stuff too. And what we're doing, a lot of people usually say they want to homestead because they want to eat healthier and a better kind of raise their own food and things like that. But nowadays there's more to it. People are running away from the city, not only for that good reason, but now they're kind of worried about the rat race and the craziness, and they don't want to be around so many people, because if it goes nuts, it's going to go really nuts. And my point is, I always kind of look at homesteading as we're trying to be people that are kind of thinking in the future of food's going to get kind of hard to get, and you know, raising your own and trying to be a prepper a little bit and putting food aside and in case, you know, of emergencies. So a little bit of my prepper and a little bit of my homestead kicks in on this subject. But the one thing we never talk about that much is money and the combination. So I know none of us are experts and we're not being any financial advisor at all here. This is just a conversation of everybody picks up different pieces of information. And the one that's kind of got me concerned is this new digital dollar. And I also want to talk about the petrodollar a little bit, because even though it's bad for us and it's going to hurt our thing, I can understand why other countries want to change, because we've been kind of bullies in the whole thing too. So anyway, change is coming. And I have Levette coming on the show. I never met him, but we'll bring him on and let him and introduce him.
They just need to.
Hello.
Hey.
So
How you
this
doing?
is Levette.
Hi.
And where you from?
Florida. I'm using my phone because I don't trust my laptop. I'm the one who typed in Florida from the biblical animal farm.
Oh,
Nice to meet you.
So that would be Levite, right? Levite Con.
Did I say?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
what did I
Yeah.
say?
Does that too, so we're used to people popping in on their phones.
Yeah. Actually, phones work really good on this program.
yeah.
So nice to have you. So our subject is, you kind of heard us talking about is the uneasiness of things coming up. And so I want to start with this digital dollar. And we don't have an expert on the panel, but we're all getting a little bit of information about it. So my concerns is we're all rural people that live out a ways. So I'm trying to imagine how, as a homestead, some of the things that here, like if we went to the digital dollar, most likely our banks would lock up as they convert.
Yep.
And there's also things like, if they convert us to digital dollars, you may not get the same value. They'll still stay a dollar, but when it's digital, they may say, well, we'll give you 20 to 1 to a dollar. So let's say you got $100, they'll reduce it to 20 because that's the new value.
Well,
And
Rob,
if
you may get kicked off with this comment, but what they need to do is drop the central bank and go back to the gold standard the way it was when everything was normal.
I agree, but it's pretty bad, hard to backtrack of where we came from. But
Oh no.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure how much gold we really have over in Fort Knox, for starters, over in Kentucky. But here's the thing, and I'm on a date. I mean, I'm the son of a bank owner, or he's deceased now, but I grew up that way. And from what I've seen, things have really drastically changed since the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And they're not about to go back to the old ways. So I don't claim to. Here's what my wife and I, Deborah, are doing. We're prepping with bathwater can. We pressure cook. Don't get me wrong. If you want to give me a slab of gold, I'll take it. But it's not my first and primary concern. Food. And let me look. I think I don't know how careful. I don't want to jeopardize your channel, but I wrote it down about the rumors now from Off Grid with Doug and Stacy. MNRA might be coming into our meats now into the grocery stores this month. Now, as in the beef and the pork. Now, I'm Jewish, Messianic, so I don't eat pork. We're good, but I do like beef. So I was telling Deborah last night, we're probably just going to stick to chicken and turkey for now. It's a long story, folks, but we had a homestead, and we were really thriving. But we were even though we were outside of town in another area of Florida, we ended up getting screwed because they said we weren't grandfathered into the rezoned area. We had to give it all up.
Oh man,
I'm not going to get into the unconstitutional stuff. That's just granted, but we're taking care of my wife's grandmother. She does need somebody here, and we're buying land in another state because frankly I want out of here. But food to me, along with a healthy environment, as long as for what we are capable of producing or doing for ourselves, that's my main concern over gold, silver, and other precious metals, as they say.
Yep.
Because I can't eat gold.
Nope.
And I'm not an expert. I never was an expert in gold. I would go to Zach Bauer for that, but again, I can't eat it. It's not edible.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And part of this conversation is what I want to talk about is what are we doing, or what are some people doing to, everything we do in a homestead and everything we do with prepping is trying to kind of like be prepared for the unknown. And so you kind of look at your scenarios and say, well, I only make this much income, or I only have this much property, or all these little things. And you make plans and you say, okay, I'm good. Instead of a barn, I'm going to build little, boxes or sheds and stuff. Well, the same thing with the digital dollars. We get ready to make the conversion. Most likely, I'm just saying these are guesses. Banks would be shut down for a while as they convert. Most likely, we're going to take it in the shorts and learn whatever money we have in there. We'll probably get hurt in that area. And then how do you pay your rent? How do you pay for your car payment? How do you pay your utilities? Will your credit cards even work? All your subscriptions that you might have. There's hundreds of things that could just go stop because they're famous for doing things and not planning it out.
You're not telling me that Netflix is going to go down, are you? That's not what you're saying.
I know it could happen, John. It could happen.
Real quick, I tell you what, I got a call this week from our local bank, and the local bank said, "Hey, we are going to all touch cards. We're you're not going to be able to insert your card anymore. You're not going to be able to, they said that we're going to go to all touchless and tap this and that, and it got my wife and I thinking something, when I was talking to the gal and I said, are you going to call my wife and let her know, because she said all of our payments, everything that we have done through the bank is going to have to be updated. And I said, you need to call my wife. And she said, well, whoa. I am calling you. You're one of our 96,000 people that we're calling to let us know that, to let you know that something's going on with your bank. Hopefully somebody will get a hold of your wife. And I'm thinking, holy shit, something big is going down or coming up.
Well, out of all the gas stations I stopped in,
yeah,
most of them touch sensors don't work.
Yeah, they don't work.
They don't work on your card. We don't have.
I don't-
the
I don't want it on
yet.
my card.
They don't trust you with a chip,
No,
John.
they all say out of order. When I go up to the pump, it's like, oh, that one's out of order.
You know, I think
Because they're just bringing them online.
to kind of piggyback off of what Levite was saying with the gold, you know, first of all, from my understanding is that China owns the majority of the world's gold. And so if we go back to a gold standard, who is going to set that standard?
Well, that's a good point.
Right. And that's pretty scary.
What about silver?
It's actually gold and precious metals.
Yeah, exactly. And they own the majority of it. In fact, the most precious of metals would be the metal that's used to build the batteries for these electric cars. We know that the largest mine in the world is in Afghanistan, who we just turned back over to the Taliban, who has taken their orders from China. So China runs the world. China runs the economy. And China is starting to partner with other South American countries, and they've dropped the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
And so the U.S. dollar is going to, if it's already plummeting, it's not something that we can predict. Like, it's not saying, oh, this might happen.
No.
It's going to happen. And so to Levite's point, when it comes to gold and having gold, it's only worth something. It's only worth what someone's willing to trade you for it. Right. So if you walk into, you know, if the supermarkets collapse or the economy collapses and you can't get anything from the supermarket, you're going to have to go directly to the source, to the farmers. And there's a very good chance that the farmers are going to pass on your little piece of gold to purchase the eggs and the beef and the chickens and things that you need. So you really have to, I think, in addition to food and lots of ammunition, I think the really important commodity that we need as a people is community. We have to have community with one another. We have to learn to live with one another and love one another and take care of one another and use our gifts within that community. So it's, you know, if I'm really good at fixing or repairing machinery, and Rob, you have a farm and you're great at growing things, but you can't fix your machinery, then that's a natural marriage, bonding right there. And so that's what we need to do. We need to form small, tight-knit communities that are willing to help each other, love each other, take care of one another, and defend one another.
Yeah, that's what we do with Jamie and Rob and us have started that community around here. So we got quite a few people that we can reach out to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think small town tourist area, what he's advocating for is almost like a communal living. And but here's the thing, you know, you have to be very careful. It's like, even though I quit YouTube a long time ago, I still do my research. And as a pragmatist, you have to be willing. You have to have the fortitude, the iron guts, if somebody comes near, to turn them away. And it's going to be heart-wrenching at times. Even if it's with the barrel of your gun that they're looking at. But as far as people getting together and having their own gifts and their skills, and also be willing to teach, okay, we might have some people that are maybe not real up on it, but they're willing to learn. You have to see where their motivation level is at. But that being said, you have to be like-minded. And what I mean, simply put, is just get along, and be willing to have a chief or two and the rest be Indians. And that, because I'll tell you, one or two people, even just one, can pull everybody down. You can ruin everything and that. But I think we're going to get to that point. You know, I'm looking at what's going on. Deb and I are paying off that land as fast as we can.
Yeah.
You know, and we're buying new, you know, well, I have most of my tools and that, but I mean, we're buying other equipment. with it and stuff. And we're almost doing it out of desperation. We're living like frugal tightwads, I guess, to be blunt, right now.
I think we all need to
Because
start getting there.
it's not a matter of, I think it was you, whatever your name is there. It's not a matter of,
John.
it's a matter of when, right?
Yeah.
It's going to go down. I mean, it's hard for me to sit there and watch people getting hurt now.
Yeah.
I mean, it really sucks to see all that. But there's nothing I can do about it. And it's only going to get worse.
So,
All right.
So one of the things that would come at John Pearson, I'll get you up here. The one thing I've noticed is like I buy about 8, maybe just 8 ounces of silver or so around a month, and I just a little bit just here and there because I wanted it for bartering. And then, but I'm rethinking everything because now they're talking about the petrodollar and all these other problems. And their idea is they're basing that kind of backing on resources, not just gold. It's whatever the countries that you live in
And
is
that's
based
what-
on resources. And so that's why Brazil's interested in this and why all these other countries, because their trade will be based on the resources of their country. And that makes to them a lot more sense. I mean, as if you lived in those countries and you had to buy oil under the petrodollar, you understand that they've been bullied for years, not by war, but by politics. And so they're interested in it. So they're not, I don't think some of those countries are not out to get us. They're trying to just make it. And so I understand why this is happening, but that changes. Like for a while, I'm really convinced maybe you should have a little bit of silver and gold. Maybe you should put $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 aside in a coffee can in the house and all that stuff. But then the next thing I start hearing is digital dollar. They don't want to use cash anymore. Cash will be useless. Why would you have $5,000 on the side if you can't? Nobody wants it.
Form somehow. You got to burn it.
And the same thing with silver. It's like now silver will always have a value, and gold will always have a value in every country. And it might be worth $10 to one person in one country and $100 in another, but it still has a worth for trading. So that got me to thinking more, especially this week, is like, am I preparing for bartering more?
Yes. Yeah. See, we've been preparing for survival as far as our families and what's going on and food and that kind of stuff. It hasn't really been a topic of conversation for survival of,
Yeah, but food can also be used as bartering power too.
That's right. That's right.
So my guess is, since we're rural, most likely that's going to mean a lot more to us, because we'll be wanting to buy food. And the farmers are not going to be interested in cash. So all of us better have some kind of resource, whether you got your eggs or maybe you're good at growing some
Pigs.
anything.
Chicken.
Us as pigs and
Good looking, like
good looking like John. Yeah.
right.
Well, which one of us?
Tough being a hunk of burning love, isn't it?
And it is a burden to bear.
Yeah.
So it really is concerning. It really was I'm reevaluating my battle plan as far as prepping and as far as the homestead. And I think there's some obvious things you want to do is, I'm afraid to say his name. I said it wrong before. Is it Levite? How do you say your first name?
Levite.
I don't know why I'm
Like it.
so
Okay.
you're bringing up just the fact that I'm trying to get ideas of what I should be doing different, and some things I feel like I'm doing right, but I think I want to back off on some of it.
I don't know what you're doing wrong. I mean, I've seen you a little bit here and there. I'm actually sub to you. I apologize for not looking at your stuff more, but you can't do everything. Again, that's maybe where the community comes in, and we help each other. I mean, I'm just not going to discuss certain things here.
Right.
And after listening to Danny explain it on Deep South Homestead, I'm not even sure I'd want to go to another link and do it because they're hurting you in.
Somebody else on our board talked about Deep South. I think it was John Pearson.
Yeah, well, I follow his logic pretty easily. I really get a kick out of the humor with Zach Bauer and then Pinball. A lot of these guys, I really like them. But we're not going to make it without one another. And really, let's be honest, you can't prep for everything anyway, okay? There's just stuff beyond our control.
Yeah,
I mean, look, even though I'm a native born and raised Minnesotan, I spent a good, let me think, 7.5 years living in Ohio. I moved out back in 2016 to take care of my dad up in Minnesota back at that time. So he could die at home. But anyway, you imagine that with all the poor people in East Palestine. You can't prep for that kind of stuff. There's no way. I shouldn't say there's no way, but almost. It's virtually impossible. What Deb and I are doing is, I mean, and we'll take people in. I'll be very careful about it, but we'll take people in. But to start off, our land is 10 miles away from the closest town. Now, that cuts you down 90% of someone trying to break into you. Now, I am prepped for this too, and I'm not, but you guys figure it out. It could still happen, that 5 to 10%, right? Well, you kind of have to be your own security. And I'm not going to bother with 911. I just don't want them involved anyway. So, especially with the way things are going now. But, the innocent are guilty.
Yeah. And
Actually,
we have some of the same
worries. Away from a lot of dangerous things initially, and we got people that were working together and we're like-minded, and we all have our skills, and we're willing to pitch in and do that. And that's another thing I think Americans are going to have to learn, probably myself included. Yeah, you are your own individual, but
Hi, Sherry.
Oh yeah, hello everyone. Hello, Sherry.
Sherry's my wife.
Oh, nice.
Okay, but I mean, the greed and just this being yours. You know what I mean? That's not communal living. We as Americans have gotten used to that. This is mine. You get that attitude. I mean, I'm guilty of it.
Yeah.
I don't have that attitude.
How many people have been shocked back in the days? Like, I sold a house once in Kent, and a Asian family bought it, and it was 3 generations of the family living in it, but they were able to buy the house, and that was normal for them. And of course, me and Sherry look at it like, that's crazy. Grandpa's with them, they're another generation's with them, and the whole works, and they're all working together to be able to buy this house. And that's normal to some cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So we got some learning to do. But I was going to talk real quick about caregiving.
Nice.
On a caregiving basis, like for example, Sherry's the executor taking care of her estate, and she's in assisted living, and so she's got a good sum of money that they put away for that reason. And if this digital dollar goes, and they could devastate her. And it's like, along with, Sherry and I have our own little savings and all that kind of stuff going on, and that could get devastated. And it's like, what is some of the best, I just want to keep that up on the top of this conversation, some of the best ideas of how we could be, we're going to be affected no matter what, but what's the highest priority? And I think one of them has already come out as community. I agree with that 100%. I think another one would be food and water, of course. And Lord knows what we're going to be able to do with shelter, because if you have a mortgage and digital dollar comes along, is like, how long will it be until we have a way to get on board to be able to make payments on mortgages again and stuff like that? How out of whack will all the finances be on everything? Whether you're buying a car, or you have an RV or you have a house mortgage, all this stuff could go south. And I don't think we can plan for that. We don't know if it'd be just a month. We don't know if it takes 6 months to get this whole system to work if they go on a reset mode. And that's the things that are concerning me is like, what's the best actions to take? And I think I'm getting out of this conversation already is we're all starting to talk about the basics of life, shelter, community.
I think we need to learn maybe some of the old school ways of doing things too, and not rely so much on technology. We have to be able to till the ground with, maybe a mule pulling, or a horse pulling a tiller instead of relying on mechanical things. Rob, you guys do a great job, you and Sherry both, of canning and freeze drying and that type of stuff. And those are things that people have to learn to do. But I would say, and I'm going to take this conversation maybe in a completely different angle, but I would say that the number one priority is to have yourself right with God, because it's all going to come crumbling down.
Yep.
And whether this country falls or whether it stays, you're going to die, right? We're all going to die. We need to be right with God today.
Yep.
And then worry about the rest of the stuff after that. That's my opinion.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think John Pearson will probably be around a lot longer because he's so good looking. But yeah.
That just sucks, don't it, John?
I know,
You have to wear that badge.
I almost want to fog him out a little bit because he's just too good looking for the show.
Hey, guys, is it okay if I take a moment here? Is it okay if I take a moment here?
Sure.
Yeah.
Say hi, Deb. Hi, Debbie Cakey.
Hi, Deb.
Hi.
That's good. Now, has she been able to watch any of our prior shows?
Well, she's listening right now. She has her headphones on, so.
And I'm giving Grandma a breathing treatment, but I was over listening to them what they were saying about the canning and stuff, going back to the old ways.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that I'm trying to teach. A lot of people, and a lot of people don't want to listen to it.
It was hard.
Yeah.
We've been kind of,
you guys watch us can all that stuff. Do you think we've been doing this for a long time? We just learned how to can and all this stuff maybe 3-4 years ago.
This is my first year.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so
And
you can
everything
teach
I
old
do
dog
is
new tricks, huh?
Hey,
Well, you guys are old.
oh, geez,
you're right there with us, Ron. You're right there with us, and 62 is not old.
Oh man. But yeah, so I think with our show, I wanted people to be forward thinkers. I want people to think about what we're getting out of the show is I'm a little bit surprised, but the old ways, the most important things, the old basics of food, shelter, water, community. I'm getting all that out of this conversation already. I'm sure a lot great things. And I think that just brings back the reminder why what we're doing here in Crooked River Ranch is trying to get this homestead community kind of thing going where, and now John Smith does, found a good use for Amy's horses. So
That's right.
so now we can, Amy, she's got a couple of horses over there, so I can borrow the horses maybe and do
They
my
use cows too, and Amy has cows.
yeah. So
That's
yeah.
right.
So
Be like the Amish, and you can buy the old race horses that they're, for pennies on the dollar. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And heck, I can build a chicken coop, that's for sure.
You've only built like 27 this year.
No, he's only got one more to go for now.
For now.
Another one? You poor guy. If you want, you can come over here and build something. I got lots of things to build.
No.
No, the barn's next.
Yeah, I got the whole barn to build.
It's going to be getting warmer, so that barn's going to come up next.
Yeah. And, the other thing I wanted to bring up that I know in the conversation is they'll most likely tie this digital dollar and stuff into a social rating kind of system too. It's like, so could you imagine what it'll be like for, and especially when we're out in the rural, is like, why are you buying a tractor? It's like, do you really need a tractor? Or do you are you going to be limited to, I got Elijah going like crazy.
You don't need a tractor. You
bad.
want a tractor.
I don't want to pay for a tractor. I can tell that for sure.
You don't need it. You want it.
Yeah, but the thing is like, are we going to be limited on, are they going to start dictating to us like what we can do, what's considered a small farm, a medium farm, a ranch, all that? And they'll say, well, you don't qualify to spend that kind of money on.
That's a 26 horsepower diesel. You don't need that much.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have heard of the ESG scores, right?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
We know it.
Yeah, and the ESG scores, and people think this is all fallacy and it's not real, and it's just
happening.
a conservative, conspiracy theory and things. But when you see Bud Light doing what they're doing and who they're using to advertise their products, and you see Jack Daniels is doing the same thing, and they're allowing these same fringe, groups be represented by their products. There's no other reason other than the ESG score.
Yep.
And it's happening. And if you don't believe it, that's, it's gonna slap you across the face when it comes to your neighborhood.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I brought it up, and I didn't want to go. I didn't go deep into it because I don't totally understand the facets of it, but I do know it's been implemented. I do know the bigger corporations and stuff are affected by their by funding and the banks, and so it's only a matter of time that when they get their hands around us, that somehow that kind of, I don't know if it'd be ESG or not, but some kind of systems would be in place where they're going to try to regulate how we spend and when we spend and how what we qualify. And I worry about that a lot. Now, I think it's kind of bad because I kind of think in the fact Sherry and I constantly say, "Thank God we're 62." I think this is when it really gets bad, we're going to be out of this world. But I do worry about my kids and of course our grandkids. And
That's
you
right.
can imagine, and we'll go, and we have to suffer the transformation of abundance to regulations and control, and that's going to be hard for all of us because we're boomers. I'll just say boomers.
Yep.
And,
Old school.
we've had a good life, and it'll be hard to give up and have to answer to people and fill out forms and explain my actions.
Nope, not gonna happen.
Do it. Not going to do it.
Not gonna do it.
Rob, you got 30 years. You got 30 years plus. 30 years plus to think about it. You talk about it too like it's a big number. You're a kid when it comes to reality of life.
Yeah. So and like I said, with I want to be a channel, and we've always wanted to be a channel where we're community and be proactive. I don't want to see people sitting around the couch just bitching and complaining. It's like take action.
You have a handful.
Hey, Rob, you got to look at it this way. You haven't reached the twilight years. You're still on the beginning.
That's next year, right? It's like Debbie and John are like half a year older than me.
Yes, you do act that way. Yeah, I agree. Good job, honey.
You thought that all by yourself there, John.
You know what we all have in common right now?
Insanity.
Freaking good looking.
That too. We're all wearing glasses. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
If I take these off, I can see everything in my house but you.
Yeah.
I wear my glasses to hear better.
There you go.
That doesn't surprise me.
But yeah, I just want to. I guess I think it's important that our paradigms need to change in certain areas, and other ones don't. As far as it's still good to have metals, and it's still good to have things of value, but I think it's changing where it's also.
Wearing them too.
I think it's really important that we think of bartering and tradability of whatever we are capable of doing. And it's different for everybody. We have homesteads and we have ways of having some barter, things to trade and with, but other people towards the city and stuff, it might be art. It may be certain abilities to make clothing.
There's only
things
so
like
much
that.
wall space you got
Why?
for art.
Yeah, for art.
Oh, well,
That's
so
true.
people.
But you
It's
gotta
like-
have something on the walls. So
Oh yeah, and believe it or not, think about buying things like a couple of bottles of booze and keeping some curtains of cigarettes
I got
around.
that covered.
Even if even if you don't smoke, if you see a good deal on a carton of cigarettes, buy it and put it in your preps.
Hey, it works in prison, right?
Yep.
probably buy
Yeah.
more than you think.
And just before this show, I'm going to bring it up to say is there may be a time that this isn't the best place to live anymore. And so I always keep an eye on a couple of people that live in Mexico and stuff. And yes, they're corrupt. They have problems, all that stuff. But I can imagine living some of those areas that are surrounded by like-minded people, be able to make the bills with my Social Security.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah, sure, never let that happen.
Not gonna happen.
Sparky would be really pissed. But that is something to think about. And,
I have.
And,
Yeah, I'll just move across the street onto another homestead.
Yeah.
We're gonna be Idaho pretty soon.
I don't know. I can stand to live along the ocean side with eating a lot of tacos. I'd be pretty happy.
Well, you can do that over here where you belong.
Yeah. Or at least for now. But the thing is, the paradigms I was saying are changing. So as quickly as we want to write that off, that might be an option that's better 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Don't believe it now. You're shaking your head, all that. I'm just talking about the paradigms and how we should be open to say, what should we be doing that will make our lives, I would say, better or more convenient, that we can survive through this change, because it could be very severe change.
Just
Something that wasn't mentioned really either is hunting and fishing, and learning how to hunt and trap and fish and be able to kill your own food and be able to clean your food.
Yard if I want it.
Say that again, John.
What's that?
I got that in my front yard if I want.
well, but many don't.
Rabbits, deer.
Yeah, that's
Many don't.
I do know when I lived in Arizona, if you go to the right places, you could find roaches really easy.
oh,
Oh, you
Stop
go
with
to
the
California and do that.
Stop with
And
the-
Florida's got the really big ones. They're teeth.
Yep. But,
Yeah, we
you're
do. They're pretty big. They're pretty big down here. So
I heard you guys ride them.
and that's and that's a point that,
Way.
and so that's another thing we brought up in this show the other day is like if I ever shot a deer, I don't think I would know how to butcher it. I wouldn't
That's
know how
key,
to cut it
yeah.
up. I know how to clean it, but as far as after that point, I need Amy's.
Community.
Yeah, I need community there.
keep cleaning
How to
like
do it really good.
deer,
Right.
goat, whatever. We've cleaned. Like even a goat I shot in the head with my 32. And I have killed deer before. I've shot them, but that's been a long time. But you hang it up and you deskin it and all that. It's
Yeah,
a lot of work.
I can do that part, but I just to stake it out and do my cuts and all that stuff and packaging and stuff. And of course, things would be different. I mean, I have the freezer space. I mean, I have the electricity.
YouTube will tell you how to do it.
Yeah, it may not be YouTube.
Yeah, but if you don't have electricity, you got to learn how to salt it, and you got to learn how to dry it out and save it that way, and turn it into jerky or whatever. And there's just a lot of things that the old ways of doing, the pioneers, the way they survived crossing this country in wagons, that we have just let fall to the wayside. And those are some of the things that we need to learn how to do. Survival, basic survival skills.
Yeah, that's why we're going into the processing of our own chickens, everything here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that we can learn how to do that and get it done proficiently.
The thing is like from reports, and like I'm saying, we all know a little bits and pieces of what the future might bring. What we're talking about is not a popular thing with the world economic kind of people,
folks.
and so we're going to be very unpopular, and they don't want us to be self-sufficient. They don't want to.
Yeah, well,
They don't want
you
you.
to control your food supply. That's the big thing.
They don't want you here.
Hi, Deb.
You to be dependent on them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're getting our whole family railed up over there.
How you doing? More the merrier.
Yeah, I thought Florida was the perfect state. What's going on?
Well, I was temporarily not capable. I'm just itching to get in here. Because all those things that y'all are talking about, I know how to do. And I'm teaching my husband how.
Good.
A lot of people, you won't find a lot of people nowadays that can say that they literally can live off the land. What you've got broad planted, you can eat all kinds of different things you would call weeds. Most people that walk on their grass nowadays, they want to pull up what you can actually eat.
Well, the problem here in Washington and Oregon is all they want to do is smoke it.
Yeah. Anyway,
Smoke it.
basically, you may think that you're in the city, that you don't know, you don't have this and you don't have that. Well, actually, when most people, when they go out on their grass, they try to kill certain things. But believe it or not, you walk on your grass, there is a weed somewhere, like nipple weed, there's dollar weed, there's certain types of flowers that you can eat. You can eat the root, you can eat the stalk.
Dandelion.
I actually cook with some of these things that y'all would call weeds. There are certain things that you can do with pine trees. If you take off, see, a lot of people will look at a pine tree, and pine trees are all over the United States. All right, there's short needle, there's long needles, there's different types of things. You got juniper trees.
Yes,
There's certain types of juniper trees you can eat from.
They're disgusting.
Now, the fern kind, that's the
John doesn't have
small
any trees.
edge, but the juniper tree produces a type of a berry that you can actually turn into a sugar status. All right, or you can turn it into a tea. All right. Yes. Now there's elderberry. If you know how to identify them things, that is one thing. Now, when he was talking about skinning and preparing hides and stuff like that, okay, now it's a wonderful situation if you've got a dehydrator or a dryer machine. That's great. I get it. But how did they live back in the 1800s when everybody else was standing in soup lines in the 1920s and 30s during the Depression? How was all them people living off grid that survived? How grandma and grandpa and great grandpa and stuff used to live. Okay. People have gotten so used to being taught, well, I don't have that means of education anymore. Well, for thousands of years, God himself gave us the capability and knowledge of how to live. He said, go and subdue the earth. He didn't mean make borders and cut each other off and fight and everything. He said, subdue the earth. He said, live upon the earth from the sweat of your brow. All right. Well, the most main thing is seeds. Are you getting seeds, and what kind of seeds are you getting? Because a lot of them nowadays are hybrid seeds. You can only plant them one time, and you can't get the seed from them plants and replant because it won't grow, because the government has made it that way. So, like for instance, we've got what we call wild, it looks like turnip greens, collard greens, tender green type things, but it's actually the ancestral offshoot of what used to be the original genetic line. They're called mustard spinach, and we've gotten some. They grow wild on the side of country roads, or grow wild out of ditches and stuff like that. And what you do is you take those things, you grow them, you take those seeds. From those seeds, they hybrided and made broccoli, cauliflower, kale, all these different ruffled kind of lettuces and stuff like that. You see, the original strawberry was no bigger than that. Okay, no bigger than the tip of your pinky. Maybe it wasn't as sweet as the strawberries you get out of the store that are big old fat things now. They've been genetically mutated and genetically modified. Okay, well, you get these, you go online and you get these seeds of the original plants. Do your studies on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to remind you, by the way, is we only have 8 minutes left on our show, so I got to make sure get some of the other. But we totally agree. A lot of us are all trying to be aware of what's in our areas. Now, what's kind of funny is like we got one from Arizona. And I came from Arizona, and it's like you just got to learn how to eat your cactus down there, John.
And boil it.
They're all ugly.
Yep, and then we're high desert, so we have a lot of junipers here and stuff. And we all agree with the berries, but when we live around here, it's like I hate the berries because the robins love them so much, and then the robins paint your house with their.
They get drunk and fall out of the tree. It's hilarious to watch.
Yeah. So I wanted to, I have another one in here that I love to hear you guys' opinion is, there's a push on these EVs, and all of us have heard the information about the resources on that. It's ridiculous. It's like they have, and we live out in the rural area. I'm just trying to figure out how you're going to, pull your tractor trailer with a electric car.
Not going to happen.
The problem is our cities are the ones that are dictating all the laws, and of course that's why Oregon wants to go to Idaho.
They're trying to make 15-minute cities.
Yeah, and so we got some real problems in that area. It's like that does not match our rural lifestyle at all. If I was maybe because Sherry, if she's still commuting to the school district for another 10 or 15 years, maybe that's a good car to go to work on. But as far as functionality, doesn't make sense at all to do. And so, and then we don't have the resources to actually even build these wishful cars that they want the whole world to drive. So, and it's going to affect this of how finances, whether we can buy a car. They're going to question us if we buy a truck. You're going to question you if you're going to buy a trailer. Are you going to be questioned of the fact of you might want to buy an RV and travel a little bit? And so the big part I wanted to bring out of this show is getting people to start thinking forward. And I know a lot of us are just sitting back and living life day to day, living for the now. But if you don't talk about the things that we're all talking about in the show, whether learning how to basic, how to store food, etc., all that, I think when it happens, it's going to happen fast, and it's going to be a shit show. Sorry, but and I don't know. We can only imagine what people are going to act like and how crazy society is going to be. But how crazy could it get? And so,
you know, it's interesting, Rob, that you talk about like the electrical vehicles and stuff like that. And our country knows that we don't have the grid if everybody in this country traded their gas powered vehicles in for electric vehicles, the grid couldn't handle it.
Nope.
We see it in California. We see it in Texas when everybody's running their air conditioners. When it gets a little warm, everybody gets paranoid that the grid's going to go down with the air conditioners running. How in the world are you going to add hundreds of thousands or millions of electrical vehicles to the grid? They know it. It's not possible. They know that.
Yeah.
You're not going to. You're not going to. And the thing of it is I'm a signing supervisor for an electrical contracting company here in Eugene. And every time somebody calls and I've got to get a hold of the utility company, the first question they ask is, are they adding an electrical car charger? Or now that natural gas and propane is the evil thing, are they adding an electrical stove? They can't handle it. They can't do it.
This one of the largest electrical vehicle producers is right here in Casa Grande, Arizona. It's Lucid.
Yeah.
And the company just laid off like 1,300 people. I'm reading the article. It's right here on my phone right now. It's not a sustainable industry. It's not going to continue. It's impossible. And it just doesn't make sense. And until, we don't want to get political, but until people start making the decisions to drill and tap into our natural resources here in this country and are okay with it, instead of playing Chicken Little that the world's going to fall apart and all this stuff, we're just going to continue going down this path of insanity. Nothing's going to change.
Right.
yep.
Yeah, in fact, I think we were supposed
If I could make one more statement about the digital currency,
Sure.
what happens if the internet goes down? How's that digital going to stay up?
That's a big one.
That's
I
a
didn't
good
even
one.
touch that one with my notes.
People are going to shoot themselves in the head. They don't know how to live without it.
Hey, Rob,
Especially
2
our
minutes.
young people.
I see it.
Okay.
Yeah, our young people do not know how to live without a phone or the internet. They
Mhm.
don't know.
Yeah.
I need to
No,
remind
if you ask
everybody
them,
that-
the internet's been around forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two things I want to remind our listeners. This is a podcast too, so if you like to listen to podcasts, just use your software on your cell phone to just put RangerRob Country Living Podcast, and we'll come right up. The other thing is we're on. We launched the brand new, and it's actually doing very well. The new Crooked River Ranch Radio. It was a good decision. I'm glad we moved it to them. Anyway, it's going real good. We're still loading music. We're still loading stuff, but we're getting there. So this show is on Sundays at 8:00 in the evening, every Sunday. So anyway, just want to let you know you guys are rock stars, just big rock stars. I want to thank everybody very much. And
Good show.
yeah, and it was really nice to have a special guest, and so you're welcome to visit our show anytime. I knew this one might stir up a couple of new people just because we all have a lot to say about it. We all have to be careful because of social media. I think we did very well at being politically savvy, and so I appreciate the panel for being so good about it. And all I wish that everybody who's watching this show is to think forward a little bit, get prepared, try to be as comfortable as you can as far as have a little bit of extra money, money on the side that might help, have some fuel on the side, have food, whatever you can do to be as comfortable as possible, because we're going to have some areas that I don't think we can prepare for. A lot of people here agree on that we can't prep for everything, and there's going to be a lot of unknowns. But the main things we know is we get hungry, we get thirsty, and we need to stay sheltered. So, and I think the biggest thing also, biggest word out of this whole show is community. And so I think I'm going to work on that even harder than we have been. And our community is getting bigger, way beyond Crooked River Ranch. We get in Florida now. So anyway, guys, I want to thank all the hosts on the show. I got our regular host, by the way. You should see new privileges on the software, so you can help block things and stuff like that in the future.
Also, hey, Rob, I just want to say too that if anybody out there has questions, you can always contact us on Facebook or what is your thing? Country Living? Well, all you guys have stuff on there. But you can contact any one of us if you have questions.
Yeah, most people contact Debbie.
Please.
Everybody, I think she's got dialogue going on with everybody that's been on the show, so that's great.
Somebody got to keep track of you.
Evidently, from what I'm seeing, Deb put our phone number in the private chat. So,
oh, cool.
Oh, good. Thank you. Appreciate that. I also want to remind everybody to check out Small Town Tourists. Excellent shows. I love watching the shows. Check it out.
Is that your channel or his channel, Small Town Tourist?
Yeah, that's my YouTube channel.
Yeah,
okay, I'll look it up and sub to you
fun
then.
to watch. Yeah, he keeps us grounded with that show. I love it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
John, Apple Farm, we'll be hearing more next week about everybody's meat birds. Everybody's got their meat birds started. Mine's going in the chicken tractor.
Mine's
this
going
weekend.
out. Mine's been outside.
Yeah, so we'll probably get down some of the basics again. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for being so good and so politically savvy in the show. And we'll talk to everybody next week. So, guys, and for those who are on the panel, I have to leave right away. We're just going to go off the air. So, guys, thank you for watching. Bye.
Oh.
Push the button. This video is made possible by RangerRob Poopy Bags, available in Amazon right now. Thank you very much for watching our video. Please take the time to like, subscribe, and share our videos all over the whole wide world. Thanks.